treat I will. Go, Elsie. Oh! Oh, oh, oh! Oh! Hoo, hoo, hoo. Hip, 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 hip. Or. Be like the fox who makes more tracks than necessary, some in the wrong direction. Oh! Oh, oh, oh! Oh! Dog can't catch no fox. Fox will jump up on a log and watch a dog go right past. Time was, man paid good money for a foxhound. Might go all the way to Texas or Indiana to pick one up. But if that dog caught and killed the fox, they'd put it down right then and there. You see, this ain't no varmint, squirrel, quail hunt. The point of the fox hunt was to get out in the woods and listen to those hounds cast out, try to catch the fox. The point of the fox hunt was never to kill the fox. No fox hunt. The point was to get out in the woods with other men, to get around a fire, swap stories, get out of the house for a night, listen, see what comes. Shoot, nowadays a dog wouldn't know what to do. Might get up on a strip job, clear cut, pipeline, run forever. Broken trail. No more woods. No more fox. No more men out running their hounds, listening. Well, then what do you do, internet, huh? Well, maybe you get wild in other ways. Hey, internet! Can you outfox the fox? Can't put this dog down? Peter Pan was a boy who could fly. And he flew to Neverland, and he fought pirates, and he flew to London, England, and he got the darling children to fly back to Neverland with him. But they had to go home, because they had to grow up. But he never grew up, and he never grew old. Or Robin Hood! Zoo, the deadliest archer in history! Foo, steal from the rich and feed the poor! Ooh. Oh, it got me! Right in the guts! But I got my magic jack beans to save me. What? I'm not doing nothing. I'm not getting my good clothes dirty. I'm not in the tree house. I'm not sassing. I'm saying goodbye. I'll be back down in a minute. Dang. They're always saying, Ezell, don't get your church clothes dirty. Ezell, don't climb in that old treehouse when I'm telling you to get down here. Ezell, don't sass me now. Well, I'm not doing none of that. You're telling me we got to leave and we're not coming back. So I'm up here saying goodbye. Nana, all those church ladies down at your house talking about how you're meeting up with Papa in heaven now. They're all fussing over the food. I tried to grab a deviled egg before it was time, and one of them slapped my hand and said, well, now, Ezell, just how you and your mama gonna get along now? No more living on here off your Nana's goodwill. And all the men folk talking about, what a shame it is to lose the family land. Talking about how hard you and Papa worked to keep it. And his son no count. Talking about my daddy that way. Like I ain't there to hear him, or I ain't big enough to do nothing about it. Well, maybe I ain't. Yet. But I will be. Until then, I want to make sure you always have a place here just like me. So I'm building you all my own very special grave marker. Right here by my treehouse, where you took me to look out over the land, telling me stories about this place and all the other places on the land, and tell me how to care for the Lord's garden, and the garden is our home. Nana, here's my Robin Hood, Peter Pan, Jack of the Woods, Green Man mask you made me. I won't be needing that no more. Mama said there's no more woods to play in where we're going. Papa, I give you back your knife, but it's the coolest thing anybody's ever given me. Plus, I might need it for protection. You always said we gotta work to protect the garden. Don't worry, I'll be careful. I told Mama that I work, cutting tobacco like Daddy did when he was a boy, or I'd go early and get a job in the mines, but she said I was too young. Said it wasn't up to me. Something about having to sell it off to pay off a debt. But don't worry, because someday I'm going to come back and take care of this place proper. Nana. Psalms 121. And I will lift up mine eyes unto these hills, from whence my help cometh. Papa, I'm sorry if I wasn't a good enough helper. I'm going to miss the dogs. And I'm going to miss the garden. I'm not going to miss having to get up early in the summertime to pick beans. Mostly I'm going to miss going up there and getting me a drink from that spring. Gosh. I wonder what's going to happen to the land. Well, don't worry, because I'll come back and I'll drink out of that spring again. Ain't nobody going to tell me this ain't my place to be. I better go. Bye. And I'm going to drink out of this here spring again. Ain't nobody going to tell me this ain't my place to be. Ain't nobody gonna tell me this ain't my place to be. Woo! Oh, we're rolling downhill like a snowball headed for hell. Ain't got no chance for the flag or the Liberty Bell. When the Coke was still cola, a joint was a bad place to be. Is the best of the free life behind us now? Or are the good times really over for good? Nope. Do-do, do-do-do, 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 do-do-do. Hey, Internet. Hey, Internet. How do you build booby traps out of bamboo, bullhorns, bones, and rope? Mine kind of suck. But what am I trying to catch anyways? Hey, Internet. How do you mask the land from global positioning satellites? Shoot, I've been building my own antenna anyway. Thanks to Uncle Sam's Army training and a few years electrical work in the mines. Trying to tune into frequencies ain't nobody else around here seem to be hearing. Hey, Internet. How do you make a home on the land after being away for 25 years? Bank been holding on to it. Ain't nobody kept it up. Ain't nothing but chiggers and briars. Ain't got no manual for that one. Hey, Internet. Woo, I got one for you. How do you spot an Appalachian eagle? Huh? No? Well, how about an old buzzard? That's right, Appalachian eagle. Out there doing the dirty work that nobody wants to do. Oh, you might think that they're ugly, or they're dirty, or they're gross. But let me ask you a question. Where would this world be without them? Stinking? Full of death? Shoot, I done lots of jobs nobody wants to do. Moving dirt, scrapping metal, going underground into mines, getting chopped up in Iraq. Sometimes you don't have options. You do what you have to do to eat, to feed your family. Especially when you come back home looking for work and there ain't no jobs worth having, not for damaged goods, and you run up your credit cards and your wife leaves with your baby girl because she's had it because you can't provide for your family. And then what do, Internet, huh? I said, then what do? Whatever you can to keep from your breaking point. I'm sorry. I know. It's okay. It's okay. I know, baby girl. I know I'm not supposed to talk like that. It's okay. It's my old tree house. Look around. It could all be yours someday. If I play my cards right, I'll tell you a story. Came upon this old feller in the woods one time. He looked like he might cook you and eat you. But he said he found him an old buzzard in the woods. About half froze to death. Thought it might be dead. So what'd he do? He wrapped it up in a blanket and he took him home. And for 3 days, took him out into the sun to thaw out. And on that third day, that old buzzard started moving. Tough old bird. He never gave up. Just needed a little bit of help finding the sun is all. Baby girl, you ever seen an old buzzard out sunning themselves? Big black wings stretched out like a cross, turning ever so slightly to track the sun, absorbing the sun's heat like one of them solar panels. Buzzard solar. Fueled by the sun and the waste we leave by the roadside. But they out there getting the jobs done. Hey, cousin. That's right. Doing what nobody else wants to do. Whatever they can to get by. Hey, cousin. Just looking for their opportunity to take their shot. Hey, cousin. I want to be an Appalachian eagle. Hey, cousin. Y'all looking pretty good. Me? Well, Got me a new job. Oil and gas company. Yeah, buddy, they're still in business. #1 in the world, just past Brazil, cheapest propane and natural gas. Over 4,000 new deep well leases signed in East Kentucky alone. Over 17 new pipelines at play in West Virginia. Shoot, they just opened up an office over around West Liberty buying up mineral rights. Now, they say they slowed drilling, but they're still buying up land, laying pipe, just waiting for the prices to go back up. And now they're putting those big cracker plants in upriver. Appalachian storage hub, they call them. Shoot, once they get them in, we ain't gonna need no more pipelines to the Gulf, because we'll keep it all right here. And we go from coal to fracking gas to making little plastic bags and everything's with the byproducts. Shoot, it's easy. They just asked if I knowed anybody out on the creek. I said, sure, I knew everybody out there. Spent every summer at Nana Papaw's farm. They asked if we still own land out there. I told them no. Had to sell it off when Nana Papaw got sick. Pay for the medical bills and the funeral home and Nana's nursing home. But you see, they said they thought that might be a good thing. Because then I get to talk to people about the risk of losing their land. Because you never know what might happen. So I tell them, I'm Ezell Parsons, and I'm with Dominion Energy and Mineral Futures, Inc. And I'm here to talk to you about your land. So maybe you won't have to sell it off, like my family did mine. Now, we're offering $30 an acre for your rights, and 12% on top of that of anything we find. Now, I told my boss, don't lowball folks. People around here know the value of land, but they don't care what I got to say about that. You know how it is. My boss got a boss who's got a boss, and on up the chain until they're up there in those fine rooms and fancy suits setting the prices they see fit. And that's why they make the big bucks off this. But me, I'm making something off this too. I'm getting paid for every lease I get signed. And let me let you in on a little secret. I'm using the money from this job and I'm buying back the family land. Already got this parcel down on paper. Now, Nana, she might say something about making a deal with the devil and only God can own the land. But how's a man gonna make something of himself if you don't own nothing? See, sometimes you gotta find a way to get ahead of the pack, to take your shot. You gotta find a way to outfox the fox. Woo! You see, I'm building me a cabin right there by the old home place. Right there where the old daffodils come up around the foundation every spring. And I'm using the timber from this land, and I'm gonna build me a porch on that cabin. And I'm gonna sit back and look out over that holler. And I remember that thing like it was yesterday. The cemetery at the bottom of the hill where Nana and Papa are buried. The old home place. Those rocky outcrops. High up on the ridge line that we used to disappear under like caves to wait out a rainstorm with all the fossils and pockmarks to let you know this whole place was underwater once. And the places with the ginseng and the morels and the yucca, Adam's needle. Cherokee Shawnee lived here before a white man ever set foot on the creek. And that spring, just as clean and as clear as heaven itself, 57 degrees year round. I remember we used to work all day clearing off those hillside flats to plant us some corn or tobacco just to get us through the winter. Not an idle hand living on the land. Me, my brothers, my sister, Papa, Daddy, sometimes. Clearing brush and cutting briars and hammering rebar into rocks and splitting them and hauling them out on backer wagons for building roads, bridges, and foundations. And we come in at the end of the day and our necks and our backs would just be kilt. And we go over that spring and the old timers, they'd all carry a handkerchief in their back pocket. And they just get it wet in that spring and they dab the back of their necks just to stay cool. But us youngins, we get down in there. And we just waller in it. We get it all over us. Well, cousin, in order to sit on the porch of my cabin, I'm going to have to trade farming these hillside flats and drinking out of this here spring. Trade them. These frac pads and these wells. Because see, they got machines. They take a hillside off in no time flat. Should we know how to take a mountaintop off around here? And they're going to need a lot of flat places for parking those fracking rigs, drill rigs, tankers, semis, and water, and a lot of it. Over 2 million gallons per well. So they're going to tap that spring, and they're going to drain it, and they're going to shoot that water down 2 miles deep and 2 miles across in every direction to break open that shale. And I'll sit back on the porch of my cabin with all those frac pads and generators lined up, pumping out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. What in tarnation is going on around here? Looks like Ezell's got him a camp. Looks about like it did when he was a kid. Gosh, I got to get me a drink. Like the Holy Spirit rolling down from the ether into the dark well of my soul. Sweetest stuff I ever put to my lips. Looks like he's got him in a hornet's nest. Better be careful. Might end up like it did back when the timber was cut. Before that, a squirrel could pass from Maine to Alabama without touching the forest floor. You believe that? Of course, that's back when we had the mighty chestnut. Gosh, she's majestic. Poplar's big enough to drive a buggy through. Not like these skinny little sticks you see here. Of course, families could get by back then with a little hard work if you own some land, that is. Of course, who really owns the land? Them that was here before. Chestnut, Cherokee, Shawnee, died out, forced west, land taken, killed, hid out amongst poor whites, blacks, Melungeons, sold off, left, mixed in. Now, children, I know what he's thinking. Because when times got hard in my days, if you had land, you sold it off bit by bit. Sold off for timber, sold off for gas, sold off for coal. Was above the ground and below it, just trying to survive. And then death, oh death, comes a knocking at your door, and it was good night. Once the timber was gone, that 2 inches of black loamy dirt that grows life itself would run off the hillsides and the rivers and creeks like lifeblood. Then what can you do? Mine it, graze it, take what you can get till it decides to come back, but you won't be around to see it. Now my wife, Ezell's Nana, she used to sing, "Do you like my garden so fair? You may live in this garden if you tend it with care, and I'll return in the cool of the day." How about that? You must protect the garden or you get cast out. The garden is our home, and that verse in Genesis about God giving man dominion over nature, it's really just about us taking care of our home. Well, it all comes in cycles. The good and the bad, and for old Ezell, it's been hard times come around again. My young selling the place off. Him, next generation, trying to get it back through this dominion business. Promoting the gas company, buying up mineral leases from good folks trying to get by. Ain't nobody getting by with that business. Can't you see it, son? Can't you hear it? Look to the hills, dear boy, from whence your help will come. I reckon your reckoning has come. Papa, Psalms 121. That's on Nana's headstone. And I will lift up mine eyes unto these hills from whence my help cometh. And I will lift up mine eyes unto these hills from whence my help comes. Chestnut, Cherokee, Shawnee, whites, blacks, Melungeon, Dominion. Yeah. My only help's gonna come from Dominion. Oil and gas. So I'm here to say to you, I'm Ezell Parsons, and I'm here to talk to you about your land. So maybe you won't have to sell it off like my family did mine. And I will lift up mine eyes unto these hills, from whence my help comes. And I will lift up mine eyes unto these hills, from whence my help cometh. And I will lift up mine eyes unto these hills, from whence my help comes. And I will lift up mine eyes unto these hills, from whence my help cometh. The old home place, where the daffodils come up every spring. Frack pad number 1. And I'm going to use the timber from this land, and I'm going to build me a porch on that cabin. Those rocky outcrops, high up on the ridge line. Frack pad number 2. Let you know this whole place was underwater once. The places with the ginseng and the morels, woo! And the yucca, Adam's Needle, wastewater holding ponds. Cherokee Shawnee lived here before white man ever set foot on the creek. Those hillside flats, we used to work when we were kids to plant us some corn and tobacco, wastewater holding ponds, and injection wells. With me and my brothers and my sister, Papa, Daddy sometimes. What's next? The cemetery at the bottom of the hill where Nana and Papa are buried. Well, that's going to be a test well. Sorry, Papa. And that spring, woo, just as clean and as clear as heaven itself. 57 degrees year round. We're going to tap that spring and we're going to drain it.
Oh, the quail, she's a pretty bird and sings a sweet tone. In the roots of tall timber, she nests with her young. But the hillside explodes with the dynamite's roar, and the voices of the small birds will sound there no more. And the hillside comes sliding so awful and grand, and the flooding black waters rise over the land. Sad scenes of destruction on every hand. Black waters run down through the land. Well, I ain't got no money, not much of a home. I own my own land, but the land's not my own. But if I had 10 billion somewhere thereabouts, I'd buy the damn company and shut 'em all down. Sit down on the bank with my bait and my can, and black waters, no more in the land.
Daffodils, rocky outcrops, ginseng, morels, and yucca, Adam's needle, corn and tobacco, Nana and Papa. And that spring that was once as clean and as clear as heaven itself. Did I sign the contract yet? Did I sign the contract? Did I sign the contract yet? Did I sign the contract yet? Well, we can go over it again if you want. Explain things to you. Those contracts don't make no sense. I resign my rights to any type of extraction or infrastructure necessary to do so for any minerals or substances deemed valuable by any methods known to man or otherwise not invented yet. What if I don't sign? Too late. You got enough other people to sign, right? You want them to make some money off their land, right? Not have to sell it off like our family did ours, right? No! It's not right. I don't want these wastewater holding ponds or these wells or any of this mess. Well, they're perfectly safe. If, like you say, all we're going to do is put whatever comes back up from the well in a small lined holding area. That's Nana and Papa's grave! Hold on there, buddy. That's just a test site. And we gave them permission to do that when we cashed the first check. Now that Cole's gone, this is the only way we're going to make a little bit of money. And for those that don't want to sign, fine, let them. As long as enough people do sign, which they will because they need the money, then everybody's got to play. Forced pooling means we get to go down in there and drill, and everybody still profits, even if there are still a few holdouts. I'm sorry if it hurts your feelings, messes up your home place. But that's the way of things, ain't it? Land has always been lost or taken. Historical fact. What made you think you could outfox the fox? Hey, Internet. Hey, World Wide Web. What do you do when you need to exhume the ancestors because the ground's been spoiled by frack water, wastewater, acids, and detergents? What do you do for your daughter Eliza and whoever comes after her? How do you heal what you've broken? Leave it better than you found it. Clean up your messes. Well, I guess you better plan to get real dirty. And if you got wastewater on site from 2 miles deep, well, then you're already radioactive. So I guess it doesn't matter what happens to you. But what kind of human would you be if you left them down in there with that spoil? What would your grandkids think of you if they knew you could have done something but you didn't? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my papa's knife and carve me out a dig line. Break the ground with that blade so I might be protected, or at least they know it's me who's coming. And I dig and I dig and until I hit wood. And then I tie me a rope up around that coffin. And I pulled up out of that grave. And I take my papa's knife and I pop it open. And if there's black water down in there, well, then you take them out. You take them to the spring and you wash them. You remove the bones of your ancestors and of any ancestors we find, because we're responsible for them all. For all the kin, for all the generations, from the ground we've spoiled all the way down and all the way back up again.
If I had no horse to ride, I'd be found a crawling up and down this mountainside, searching for my darling. Swinging turn, Jubilee.
Once you've washed them, well, then you take them up to higher ground. You give them back to the mountain, because that's where they belong. And that's what they'll become. That's what you'll become. And then you pray for forgiveness. Practice resurrection. My Lord, he said unto me, do you like my garden so fair? You may live in this garden if you tend it with care. And I'll return in the cool of the day. Now is the cool of the day. Now is the cool of the day. This earth is a garden. The garden is our home. And we walk in our garden in the cool of the day.
You may live in this garden if you keep my waters clean, and I'll return in the cool of the day. The garden is our home, and we walk in our garden in the...
And so he began. He washed them bones. He began tending the graves of our ancestors, tending and listening to all the kin of this land, its native peoples, past and present, its settlers and its stolen peoples, its chestnuts and oaks, morels and ginseng, the buzzards and the foxes, all of us. Now his hands, they turned to Eliza's hands. That's my mama. And hers turned to my mama's, and now to mine. And the cycle continues. We each worked to heal what had broken in our line as it came to us, healing between us and our people and the land and all its ancestors, practicing resurrection, coming back to life each generation in greater harmony with nature and one another. Now we don't pretend to own the land anymore. Like Ezell's Nana and the original peoples knew so long ago in their own way, who can ever own the land? We hold it in common. We steward it. We protect the garden. We can heal any hurt if we choose to. The land can heal all the poison if we let it. That's what this land and all its ancestors and stories teach me. Every day, it's a matter of listening and learning and being willing to change some of my ways, some of my people's ways. Now we don't do it alone. Each one of us has our own work to do. The work of our line continued that day as Ezell put his hands in the soil and raised his eyes to the sky and tended the land and its ancestors, singing that song of his nanas, just one more antenna between heaven and earth, the past and the future. He made a choice to clean up his mess, to change his ways, little by little, turn by turn, hand by hand. He didn't begin the work, and he didn't finish the work. He did the work he could do in his time. He took his turn, and now I take my turn. We each take our turn.